Okay, in the previous video we have seen how it is the dynamic power dissipation. So that will happen during the transition of the output signal from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0, and it was found that the dynamic power dissipation is proportional to square of the supply voltage and the frequency at which the output changes from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0, and of course that has been uh, merged with this load capacitance, so that load capacitance and the probability of having from 0 to 1 transition is being written as C effective. Let us see one more type of possible power dissipation, that too again when the output signal is making a transition from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. So we call it as a direct path power dissipation. So power dissipation. So when I say direct path power dissipation, we are looking at, is there any possibility of a direct path from this VDD to ground? So whenever there is a change in the input signal, okay, assume that okay, this is my input signal, so which is changing from 0 to 1 and then it is again going from 1 to 0. If this is the input signal that what you are expecting at the input of this, if you can see here, so during this static condition of 0 and 1, okay, in case of 0 the NMOS is off here, so N is off, and then over here P is off. So during the static condition, when it is fully 0, so of course when the signal is 0 we have the NMOS off, meaning so we're going to have a condition where, okay, even though this P is on, since this N is off from VDD to ground, so I don't have a direct path. So there is no direct path existing from VDD to ground whenever you have the input signal as 0. If you consider the other static condition of the input as 1, so you again have VDD. So since in this case P is off, let me make this open circuit, and this is now short circuited, so the switch is closed now. Now also the current is 0, meaning that there is no path existing from VDD to ground even during when the input is 1. So whenever the static state of 0 or 1 is existing, there is no direct path from VDD to ground because one of the MOSFET is off in either of the conditions. Now let us consider a condition where you have a transition from 0 to 1 and there is a transition from 1 to 0. Because we know that there is a possibility that, so once the input voltage exceeds the threshold voltage of this NMOS transistor, so here, okay, if I just slightly expand and write it, with let me just write it here. So let me write the threshold voltages. So maybe this is VTH and this is, so from here to here it is, so magnitude of VTH of P transistor. From here to here it is the magnitude of VTN transistor. Suppose that this is 0 and this is 5 volt. If this is a 0.5 and if this is 4.5, so let me assume that VTH of or VT of N is equal to magnitude of VT of P, it is equal to 0.5 volt. So whenever the input voltage is 0, let me write the, okay, here, okay, let me write it till this point, and then let me also write it over here, then let me write it over here, and this is my, okay. Now if we can carefully note, suppose if I want to write this is the V voltage, and if I want to write what is suppose let me write it as I of SC, that is short circuit current. So if you say ISC, so since here suppose if I write what is the condition of your transistor for this entire region, here N is off, P is on here, so from this to this, okay, let me write it from here to from this to this, okay, anywhere from this, okay, to this point. Okay, let me write it from here itself. So as long as the input voltage is more than 0.5 volts, so N is on here, so this is NMOS is on, and here PMOS is also on. So here both are on. If you go anything beyond this, P is off, N is on, and then over here both N and P are on. Here N is off, whereas P is on. Suppose if I write the current during this region, so whenever you can see here one is off here, let me just demark, okay, which is off. Wherever it is off, let me write it as black. You can see here it is off, and here it is off. Since it is off, I'm going to have the short circuit current from VDD to ground is 0. So here I can say this is 0, and then again here this is 0. You can see the current is fully 0, and over here the current is fully 0. So I have currents, it is 0 here, and it is fully 0 here, and it is again 0. But here in this region, since both the transistors are on, here also both the transistors are on, anything beyond 0.5 the transistor N as well as P transistor is on, anything beyond 4.5 P is off, anything below 4.5 both are on. So since both the transistors are on during the transition from 0.5 to 4.5 volt, we will going to have both the transistor will be there, of course, as we discussed in the VTC characteristics. So one will be in linear region, one will be in saturation region. At some input voltage, both will enter the saturation region where we are going to have the maximum current. We will end up with short circuit current going to peak when the input voltage is at the middle of 2.5 volt, and it will again reduce to 0. You can see this is how it is happening. So this is my short circuit current. So why it goes to peak is because when the input voltage is 2.5 volt, I will have both N and PMOS in saturation region over the other regions. So one is in linear region, other is in saturation region. So over here it is vice versa. If we can see here, this saturation current is fully 0 when one of the transistor is off. You can see N is off, it is 0, P is off, it is 0, again N is off, it is 0. But here the current is increasing and it goes to peak value and then again comes down. If I say this as I peak, this is my I peak current, and so we will say this time is T short circuit. So why I say it as T short circuit is because during this period of my input signal there is a short circuit current existing from VDD to ground. That means it looks like a short circuit. There is a direct path from VDD to ground for this small duration. Because of this short circuit current that is existing from VDD to ground, I will have a energy dissipation due to direct path. You can see there is an energy dissipation due to direct path, because we know that, okay, energy is given by power multiplied by the time. The power what you are talking about now here is the VDD, and of course the this whatever this is the, of course I can write it as this is, in general it is VDD into ISC multiplied by the time TSC. So since we are interested in this current ISC and so on, so because this ISC and TSC are being related by a triangular type of shape, I can write this the product as, of course if you can carefully see here, so this looks like a triangular, no? This looks like a triangular, and we know that this is the time TSC. This is the time TSC. Suppose if you have a triangle, of this duration as TSC and the height as I peak, I will write the area of this triangle as half of the peak value multiplied by the base. So this is like, okay, this is the H and this is the it's like, okay, half H into B. So H is nothing but I peak. This B, that is base, is nothing but short circuit current. So I can replace this power into time, that is VDD is retained as VDD instead of, because I don't know this exact value of ISC, because ISCs keep on changing like this. I will substitute the area of this triangle, which is encapsulating both the amplitude of my current as well as the timing. So this VDD multiplied by the area of the triangle during this region corresponds to a direct path during rise time. The same thing is available during fall time. So this EDP is actually twice of this. So why it is twice means, okay, this is the amount of direct path energy being dissipated when the signal is rising. The same amount of thing is happening during the fall time also. So what I can do is EDP now is equal to VDD multiplied by, what is the area now? The area is half into I peak multiplied by TSC. This is for during the rise time, plus VDD into half I peak into TSC. So I can write this energy being dissipated during due to the direct path is now given by VDD into I peak multiplied by TSC. This is the energy that has been dissipated due to the direct path existing from VDD ground during this small short circuit period. If you are interested in the power dissipation due to direct path, we know that power dissipation is nothing but, as we know, the power dissipation is energy direct path divided by the time. So divided by the time, instead of dividing it by time, let me just multiply it by the frequency of this signal. So what I can write it is, so now it is VDD into I peak into TSC into frequency. This will be my, so I can write the expression for power due to direct path as equal to EDP, that is energy due to direct path multiplied by frequency. Energy due to direct path is nothing but VDD multiplied by I peak into TSC multiplied by frequency. Of course, we can certainly know what is the value, because assume that now you are asked to estimate the value of direct path power. So out of all these direct path power, so we can know what is the value of VDD, because VDD can be known from, okay, what is your supply voltage, and you can also know what is the I peak, because if you actually find out what is the peak of this current, you can know what is this I peak also. But measuring this TSC is a bit cumbersome, because you need to be very careful in just measuring these voltages. Okay, this particular timing. So what we'll do now is, so let us try to find out what is TSCs. Because if I just slightly expand and write that only that portion of TSC, this is actually VDD. You know that this is VTN, and this magnitude is VDD minus VTP magnitude, and this is VTD. Of course, we know that the signal is, this is actually TSC. So I can actually write T of SC as equal to we know that there is a VT. Suppose assume that VTH of N is equal to VTH of P. Can I write it as VDD minus twice VTH divided by VDD multiplied by TS. So what is this TS? TS is the whole time from 0 to 100%. So this can be easily found. This is TS. So TS is the time taken for your input signal to go from 0 to 100%, which can be easily found. Since you can find this, since you know this also, it is very easy to find out what is TSC instead of measuring exactly the TSC value. So I hope you're getting it. So how did we wrote this? Okay, actually TSC is equal to VDD minus, if you can actually see here, suppose if this threshold voltage becomes 0 here, if it becomes 0 here, so does TSC is equal to TS? Because assume that if this is coming down here, if this is going close to VDD, you can see this becomes 0, this becomes 0, then TSC becomes equal to TS. So VDD minus 2 VTH, assuming that both the VTH of this and this is same, so the slope of this line, so VDD whole voltage minus twice the VTH, which is actually only this much portion, divided by VD into TS is actually TSC. But usually whenever we consider any signal, even the TSC is the time taken for the input signal to go from 0% to 100%. Even this is what is TS is, even this is also not given. What will be given is T rise time or T fault time. If rise time fault time is given, because we usually define the rise time and fault time as from 10% to 90%. The time taken by the signal to go from 10% to 90% is called as T rise. If it is coming from 90% to 10%, we call it as fault time. This is fault time. So instead of writing TSC as equal to VDD minus 2 VTH by VDD into TS, you replace this TS by rise time or fault time divided by 0.8. So TS is now equal to TR by 0.8 or TF by 0.8. Now usually we will be knowing the rise time and fault time of the input signals. Since you know the rise time and fault time of the input signal, in such case finding out the power due to direct path would be VDD into I peak multiplied by, of course instead of multiplied by the frequency of the signal, multiplied by, so I had to replace it by TSC. Instead of TSC you can write it as VDD minus 2 times VTH by VDD into TR or TF. So this is basically, this is I peak F into TSC into TSC. This is VD. So this is the direct path power dissipation due to existence of short circuit during the rise time and fault time, which is given by TR and TF. So you can easily find out what is the direct path power dissipation, since you know what is VDD, you know what is I peak, you know what is the frequency of operation, you know what is the threshold voltage, you know what is the rise time also. So by this way we can certainly estimate the value of direct path dissipation that is existing in a CMOS circuit. This is also coming under the dynamic power dissipation, because this will occur only when there is a transition from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 transition, and this direct path power dissipation will not be there during the static condition of 0 and 1, 0 and 1.